Salam, hər vaxtınız xeyir olsun. Mən Biologiya kafedrasından doçent əvəzi Əliyeva İlahə. Dərsimizə keçməmişdən əvvəl bütün Azərbaycan xalqını böyük səfər münasibətilə təbrik etmək istəyirəm. Şəhid ailələrimizə isə Allahdan səbr diləyirəm və şəhidlərimizə, bütün şəhidlərimizə rəhmət diləyirəm Allahdan. Həmçinin bütün qazilərimizə tezliklə şəfalar diləyirəm. Bugünkü mövzumuz, dərsimiz aqronomluq ixtisasının ingilis bölməsi üçün nəzərdə tutulubdur və dərsimizin mövzusu vegetativ orqanların quruluşu və inkişafı. The structure and development of vegetative organs. Any common flowering plant consists of a main axis which is differentiated into underground root system and aerial shoot system. Root system consists of a rod, a main rod, and its lateral branch. Shoot system has a stem and a system of branches with leaves, system of branch and leaves. And together, roots, stems, and leaves constitute the vegetative organs of plants. They don't take part in the process of reproduction. Flowering plants on attaining maturity reproduce flowers, fruits, and seeds, and these are the reproductive organs of plants. They serve the plant to reproduce. Here you can see three main vegetative organs of plants: roots, root system, and shoot system, divided into stem and leaves. And now, what's the root and what function does it provide? What functions does the root provide? Root system consists of one well-developed primary root and with its branch and produce lateral branch. And the root system, main root with its primary roots, with its lateral branch, together form a root system. Root is typically a non-green underground portion of the plant axis, which don't have nodes and internodes. And what's the general characteristic features of the root? Root is positively geotropic and negatively phototropic. Roots are generally non-green in color since they don't have chlorophyll pigment. That's why they don't produce food. They cannot perform photosynthesis. And roots don't have nodes and internodes. That's why the root don't bear flowers and leaves and buds. The lateral branches of the roots are endogenous in origin. What does it mean? This means that they arise from the inner tissue called pericycle of the primary root. And there are three types of root: the primary root or main root, lateral root, and adventitious root. The primary or top root or main root develop from the radicle of the embryo. And the first root that comes from the plant is called the radicle. And the radicle grows and form primary or main root. This is main or primary root of the root system. And the primary root branch to produce roots called secondary or lateral roots. And lateral roots, secondary roots, they branch and produce roots called tertiary roots. And they may further branch to produce fine rootlets. This is main root with its lateral branch. And together they constitute the root system of a plant. Now about adventitious roots. What is an adventitious root? Roots that develop from any part of the plant body other than the radicle is called adventitious root. Adventitious root, they develop from the base of stem or nodes or internodes, and together adventitious root with its lateral branch together constitutes the adventitious root system. And adventitious roots don't develop from another root. That's why they are called adventitious roots, because they develop from other part of the plant plant body besides of roots. And in some plants like grass, monstera or banyan tree, this is monstera and this is banyan tree. They are the good examples for the plants which produce adventitious roots. Many roots arise from parts of the plant. For example, from the stem, from the root, from the leaf or other plant parts other than the radical. And these types of roots are called adventitious roots. And all roots of the plant body, of the roots of the plants together constitute a root system. And there are two types of root system, taproot system and fibrous root system. Taproot system has one well-formed, well-developed primary root, which develops from the radical of the embryo, and the primary root branches and produce many smaller lateral roots. And lateral roots, they are occur in regular paths along the length of the primary root. And primary root with its lateral branch together form a taproot system. Taproot system is a characteristic feature of the most of dicot plant, dicots and gymnosperms. And gymnosperms. And in this type of root, for example, with dandelion. Dandelion is a good example of herbaceous, monocots, dicots plants, dicotyledonous plants, and it has well-developed, well-formed taproot system. In fibrous root system has several to many roots. They are of the same size and length. And they develop from the stem, from another parts of the root other than the root, from another parts of the plant. For example, from the stem, from the buds, from the leaves, from another part. And fibrous root system is formed in plants in which the primary root, the main root, is short-lived. And firstly, roots originate initially from the base of the primary root, and later they develop from the end of the stem. And adventitious roots branch and produce many lateral roots. These roots, they are thread-like, and they are of equal size and length. And they together, adventitious roots with its lateral branch together form a fibrous root system. Fibrous root system is a characteristic features of monocots plants. In most of the monocots plants, the primary root is short-lived. That's why the adventitious roots, the lateral roots, arise from the stems, from the buds, from any part of the stem, and they together form this fibrous root system. This is a taproot system with main root, with well-formed main root, and with lateral roots. This is fibrous root system with adventitious roots and with its lateral branch. And here you can see also the representative of main root. This is main root, taproot. This is fibrous root system. And if you will ask me which type of root is more effective in the preventing erosion, I will ask that the fibrous root system is more effective in preventing erosion, because the fibrous root system is located closer to the ground surface, and fibrous root system forms a network of roots. And they help to prevent soil erosion. And now, what are the typical regions of the root, or regions of a typical root? There are the following four regions are distinguished in root from apex upwards. The first zone is a zone of protection zone, or zone of root cap, meristematic zone, or the zone of cell division, elongation zone, and the last zone is differentiation zone, or zone of cell maturation. The first zone is zone of root cap. This is root cap. Root cap is a cap-like structure that covers the growing tip of the root, and its primary function is to protect the apex of the root. Root cap, it's a layer. Root cap is a symbol-like, protective symbol-like layer of cells that cover each tip of the growing, root and protect it. Root cap consists of, as you already know that the root is adapted to soil environment besides of atmospheric environment, and it goes down into the soil, and in this time the push its way through the soil. And the cells of root cap, parenchymatous cells of root cap, they slow off, and in the case of resistance, frictional resistance, and they are replaced, the cells of root caps, they slow off and replaced by the meristematic tissues, by the cells formed by apical meristems. And apical meristems of the root are located at the tip of the root, and they are protected with root cap. Root cap cover the growing tip, the delicate meristematic region of the root tip, and protect it, reduce friction. And root cap, the cells of root cap, they secrete duplicating polysaccharides that reduce friction, and so the root go down through the soil. And the second zone is cell production or meristematic zone. Meristematic zones lies a little beyond protection zone. And the cells of these regions, the cells of this zone, they are actively dividing and continuously increase in number. As I've already told, here is located the cells of meristematic tissues, and these cells actively dividing and form new cells, so the root grows. And the third zone, elongation zone. This zone lays just above the meristematic zones, and the cells of this zone increase in length, and they help in the growth of the root in length. And the last zone of root is zone of differentiation or cell maturation zone. This zone lays just above the elongation zone, and in the cells of this zone, they are differentiated into various types of cells. For example, as they are differentiated into various types of cells, and they form various types of tissues. For example, epidermis, cortex, or vascular bundles, and etc. And root hairs are also present in this zone, in the zone of maturation. Root hairs, they are responsible for the absorption of water from the soil. And root hairs, they are short-lived and unicellular extensions of epidermal cells near the growing tip of the root. And they are short-lived. They are very short, less than 1 centimeter in length, but they are quite numerous in the region of root differentiation, in the zone of differentiation of cells. And root hairs, they are, as I have already told, they are short-lived, and they raise the absorptive capacity of the root, but increasing surface area. And root hairs, they increase the absorptive capacity of the roots, and they establish intimate contact with soil particles, and so they reduce the friction of the root. Now about what are the functions of the root. What functions does the root perform? And the functions performed by root are divided into two groups. Two types of functions are performed by the root, namely primary and secondary functions. And what primary functions of the root are performed by all types of root. But in some plants, roots perform other functions to meet special needs of the plant. And to perform these special needs, they show some modification, and they show modification in their structures. And the primary function of the root is absorption. Absorption of water and minerals, dissolved minerals or inorganic molecules from the soil. And roots absorb water with the help of root hairs. With the help of root hairs, they absorb water and dissolved minerals from the soil and transport it to above ground organs of plants in the xylem. And roots absorb these dissolved materials and water, such as nitrates, phosphates or sulfates, and these materials, dissolved materials and water, are used in the producing of food, in the producing of organic materials, in the process of photosynthesis. And the main, as I have already told, the main function of the root is absorption of water and dissolved minerals from the soil and transporting into the above ground organs of the plant. Another function of the root is anchorage. And the roots fix the plants firmly in the soil, and firm anchorage is essential to the plant's survival, because it remains stem upright, remains upright, and leaves are arranged on a stem, and this arrangement enables the leaves to absorb light efficiently. The primary functions are absorption and anchorage plants' roots in the soil. And there are many, the following secondary functions are performed by the plants, and as I have already told, they are performed to meet special needs of plants. And to perform this function, in order to perform this function, they get some modifications. They modify to perform these functions. Secondary function of the root is storage of food. And storage of food. Some and taproot system and fibrous root system may be modified for storage of food. And the water, as I've already told, the water is transported from the soil and is absorbed from the soil and transported to above ground organs of plants. And food or organic materials produced in leaves by photosynthesis, they are transported in the phloem to the underground organs of plants, to the roots, and they are stored in roots. And these reserve materials are stored in roots. As I've already told, and taproot system and the main root and adventitious root may be modified for storing of food. And these materials, which are synthesized or produced in the leaves by photosynthesis, they are transported to underground organs of plants and served and stored in the roots. And roots usually use a part of these materials, a part of these organic matters or reserve materials for their own growth and development, for their own respiratory needs. But rest of these reserve materials later are transported to another organs of plants for the growth and development of the plant. And to the secondary functions of the root are related also additional support additional support when adventive roots which are developed from the stem, they provide additional support to the plant, to the stem. Assimilation, also haustorial function, also respiration in plants, they are related to the secondary functions of the root. Now, is the stem. What's the stem? Stem is one of two main structural axes of a vascular plant, the other being the root. And the stem is normally divided into nodes and internodes. This is stem or shoot system, above ground aerial part of the plant, and the main structures of the aerial part of the plant is stem with its branched and lateral branched and leaves. And shoot system consists of stem and, as I already said, leaves and lateral branch. And the node, the main axis of the plant, consists of two parts, nodes and internodes. And in most plants, stems are located above the soil, but some plants have underground stems. And the plumule of the embryo grows into the stem, which forms the main axis of the plant, and the stem along with the leafy branch, the stem along with its leafy branch together form a shoot system. As I have already told, the stem, the main axis of the plant, consists of two parts, nodes and internodes. Nodes, it's areas or part of the stem where the leaves are attached. And the distance between two nodes is called internode. And what are the characteristic features of the stem? The stem is the ascending portion of the main axis of the plant, and it's positively phototropic and negatively geotropic. For example, roots are positively geotropic and negatively phototropic, and in contrary of it, stem is positively phototropic and negatively geotropic. Stem has well-developed nodes and internodes. And you should remember that unlike the stem, roots don't have nodes and internodes, and so they don't bear leaves and fruits, leaves and buds. And this feature distinguish root from the stem. And it has, I've already told, it has well-developed node and internode. It has a terminal bud at the apex. This is the terminal bud of the apex, and its apex, the stem, the main axis of the plant, has the terminal bud. And the stem bears flowers and fruits. And the lateral branches of stem, they are exogenous in origin. That means that they arise from tissue which are located in the periphery of the main axis. For example, lateral branches of the root, they were endogenous. They are endogenous because they arise from inner tissues of the primary root, from pericycle. But lateral branches of the stem, they are exogenous in origin because they arise from the tissue which are located on the periphery, on the sides of the main stem, of the main axis, from the cortex. And buds are present, one of the parts, main parts of the stem. And bud is a young shoot. Yet to develop, and when is young, bud is a compressed stem. Bud is a compressed stem in which the internodes are not elongated and the flowers is closed and crowded. But when the bud develops into the stem, the internodes elongate and the flowers spread out. And if bud is found at the apex of the at the apex on the axis is called terminal bud or apical bud. If, for example, if buds are found in the axil of the leaves, this is called axillary bud. And buds which are located on the sides of the stem, they are called lateral buds. And here you can see a node, the place of attachment leaf to the stem, and in the axil of the leaf is located axillary bud. And certain buds, some plants have buds which develop in position other than the normal ones. And such buds are known as adventitious buds. And for example, bryophyllum, this plant is called, this is bryophyllum, and here you can see adventitious bud. They are called epiphyllous buds. Why are they called adventitious buds? Because they develop in positions, in unusual positions. They develop in unusual location. Bryophyllum with its lateral or adventive buds. And what are the main functions of the stem? The stem provides three main functions. The first and the primary function of the stem is support. Stem support leaves and branch. It's lateral branch. And when it grows, there are a lot of buds. From buds develops lateral branch of the stem. And the first and the main function of the stem is supporting of leaves and branches. And the upright position of the stem and arrangement of the leaves on a stem is due to the supporting function of the stem. And the arrangement of leaf on a stem allows the plant to capture, enable leaves to capture maximum light from an atmosphere and use it in photosynthesis. Another function of the stem is transport of water. Transport, as I have already told, stem transport water from the soil, from the roots, and the water were absorbed from the soil with the help of roots and root hairs, and the stem transport this water absorbed from the soil through the roots, transport it to the above ground organs of plants, to leaves and other parts of the plant. And also stem transport organic materials or food produced in the leaves by photosynthesis to underground organs of plants, to the roots and other organs. But you should remember that the organ of plants, the main organ of plant, the stem, is not the only organ that provides the function of conduction, that conduct water, minerals, or food, organic matters, because a vascular system is continuous throughout all the parts of the plant. And also conduction of water, of minerals, of food materials, organic materials occurs in leaves, in stems, in roots, and also in reproductive structures. And the second main function of the stem is conduction of water, minerals, and organic matters, and it between roots and leaves. And also performs the function of food storage or production of new living tissues. Stems produce new living tissues. For example, bud, as I have already told, the stem produce buds. Buds are a young stem. They produce new continuously. They divide, they grow continuously throughout the plant's life, and they form new buds, new leaves, which develops new buds. They develop to new stems with new flowers, with new reproductive organs, and with new leaves. And the secondary functions of the stem is food storage. For example, in some plants, stems get modified, show some modifications to perform special needs, to meet special needs of plants, and they get modified to perform some additional functions. And one of these additional functions is food storage. In some plants, stem get modified for food storage. For example, in potato, for example, potato tubers is underground modifications of the stems. And the stem may store materials necessary for life, for example, water, starch, sugar. And as I have already told, these materials are synthesized. These materials are produced in the leaves by photosynthesis. Then these materials, reserve materials or biological active materials, biological active components, they are produced in leaves, and then later they transported into another organs of plants and which are stored in these organs. And plant use, for example, as I have already told, the roots use a part of these reserve materials for their own growth and development, for their own respiratory needs, and the rest is transported to another organs of plants when plant needs it. And so in stems, stems may store some organic materials, some reserve materials in their stem. In order to perform this additional function, they get modified. And stem in some plants are photosynthetic. Stems may also store water as reserve materials. For example, in plants which live in dry condition, the water is stored as reserve materials in the stems of plants. And these are the additional functions of the stem. Also, if the stem is green, it may take part in the process of photosynthesis and manufacture food, carbohydrates, and etc. That's why I say that stems in some plants are photosynthetic. They are green. If they are green, and green color is due to the presence of pigment chlorophyll, if the chloroplasts are present in young stems, they can take part in the process of photosynthesis and manufacture food. And in some plants, stems have become adapted for specialized functions. Specialized functions of the stems are storage of food, storage of reserve materials, and also photosynthesis, and etc. And here you can see different types, different modifications of underground stems. And in most of the plants, stems are the aerial organs. But some plants have underground organs. They can grow underground, and these stems are called underground stems. And they also perform some specific functions, some additional functions. For example, they can store food and get modified. Here you can see some modifications of underground modifications of the stem. For example, rhizome, corm, tuber, and bulb. Here you can see base of the scape, bulb, and adventitious roots of the bulb of the onion. And paternity tuber, as I have already told, is modified underground modification, one of the underground modification of the stem. And now the leaf. What's the leaf and what function does it provide? In botany, a leaf is above ground plant organ specialized for photosynthesis, and leaf is the most variable plant organ. So variable that plant botanists had to develop an entire set of terminology to describe its origin, its margin, veins, its forms, and etc. And each leaf is specific to a species, to a plant on which it grows. And for example, the leaf may be used in identification of plant species. And leaves are of different types. For example, it may be round, needle-like, scale-like, or fan-shaped or heart-shaped, and etc. And they also vary in size. From those, for example, Raphia palms, here you can see the leaves of Raphia palms. They may grow to more than 20 meters in length. And also Wolffia. Wolffia is the smallest plant in the planet, and these leaves are very small, and 16 leaves of Wolffia laid end to end, they are 2.5 centimeter in length, the smallest plant in the planet. And parts, let's get acquainted with the parts of the leaf. Leaf consists of three main parts: base, leaf base, petiole, and the blade. And the part of the leaf where the leaf is attached to the stem is called leaf base. And the flat, broad portion of the leaf is called blade. This is blade. And the stalk which connect leaf base with the stem, and the stalk which attaches the leaf to the stem is called petiole. And three main parts of the leaf is blade, leaf base, and petiole. Some leaves have, in some plants, leaves have also stipules. Stipules, they are leaf-like structures. They are located in pairs at the base of petiole. And their function, they protect the leaf in the bud. In some plants, stipules and petioles, they lack stipules and petioles. Such leaves are called sessile leaves. A sessile leaf lack and stipules and petiole, and a sessile leaf which lacks the petiole is attached to the stem directly by the leaf base. And leaves may be simple or compound. Simple leaf has one leaf blade, a single leaf blade. Compound leaf has a leaf blade which is differentiated into leaflets. And two types of compound leaves are shown: pinnately compound, and palmately compound. Pinnately compound leaves, the leaflets are borne on an axis that is the continuation of the petiole. But in palmately compound leaf, the leaflets arise from a common point at the end of the petiole. This is the petiole, and at the end of the petiole, from common point arise 5 leaflets. And that's why this leaf is called compound, palmately compound leaf, and pinnately compound leaf. And a simple leaf consists of only a single leaf blade. And leaves are arrangement. About leaf arrangement, leaves are arranged on the stem in various ways, in one of 3 various ways. alternate leaf arrangement, opposite leaf arrangement, and whorled leaf arrangement. In alternate leaf arrangement, each leaf grows and one node is developed, one leaf. One leaf is attached to one node. In opposite leaf arrangement, two leaves grows at each node. At each node, two leaves. In whorled leaf arrangement, three or more leaves grows at each node of the stem. And the arrangement of leaves on a stem is known as phyllotaxy. And alternate leaf arrangement, when a single leaf at each node, two leaves at each node, and three or more leaves at each node. And now about leaf venation. And within leaf venation, within each leaf, the vascular tissue forms the veins. Vascular tissue forms the veins. And the arrangement of veins in a leaf is called leaf venation. Monocots and dicots, they are different in their pattern of venation. For example, monocots have parallel venation, dicots have reticulated venation. And here you can see two types of principal types of leaf venation: parallel veined, which is characteristic features of monocots, and reticulated venation, which is characteristics for the most of dicot plants. Monocots have parallel leaf venation, in which, in parallel leaf venation, the veins run in straight lines across the length of the leaves without converging. In reticulated leaf arrangement, in dicots have reticulated leaf venation. In dicots, the veins of the leaf have a net-like appearance, forming a pattern known as reticulate venation. And ginkgo, this is leaf of ginkgo tree, and ginkgo biloba is an example of a plant with dichotomous venation. The leaves of ginkgo biloba have dichotomous venation. And function of the leaves. Leaves perform main functions, three main functions. These are photosynthesis, transpiration, and food storage. Now, what is photosynthesis? The photosynthesis, the process of producing food, known as photosynthesis, mainly occurs in the leaves of most angiosperms, in the leaves of plants, and photosynthesis is synthesizing of food from inorganic matters using light energy. And another function of the leaves is transpiration, and at daytime plants lose a large volume of water through the leaves in the form of vapor, and this process is called transpiration. And the third function of the leaves is food storage. The leaves serve as food storage organ of the plant, and during the daytime, sugars are accumulated in the leaves, in green leaves of the plant, and starch is synthesized and stored in chloroplasts. At nighttime, the starch is hydrolyzed to glucose. The primary product of photosynthesis, which occur in green leaves of plant, is glucose, and glucose is hydrolyzed into starch and stored in underground organs of plants, in other parts of the plant. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process by which plants use energy from sunlight to produce sugars. Plants absorb water with the help of roots. Plants absorb in this process, in photosynthesis, they absorb water from the soil, and stem conduct this water to the leaves, and in leaves, with the presence of chlorophyll pigment and sunlight from inorganic matters, for example, such as sulfates, nitrates, phosphates, and nitrates, sulfates, phosphates, and water, and also they capture from an atmosphere carbon dioxide, and they produce organic matters from inorganic matters. The glucose is the primary product of photosynthesis, and oxygen is released in this process. And usually photosynthesis will produce more glucose than is needed by the plant, and the excess sugars are stored, the excess materials are stored and transformed into starch, cellulose, lipids or fats, and other carbohydrates, proteins, and sucrose, and they are stored in the form of reserve materials in underground or in reproductive organs of the plants. And leaves store food for the future. Germination or seed sprouting requires energy, and leaves store energy as a result of photosynthesis, and seed leaves or cotyledons are enclosed in the seed as food for embryo plant. And transpiration, one of the main functions of the leaf is transpiration. Now, what is transpiration? Transpiration, like all living organisms, plants also require an excretory structures for an excretory system to discharge excess of water from their body, and this process of elimination of excess water from the body of plant is called transpiration. It's generally the evaporation of water from the leaves, from the surface of the leaves in the form of vapor. And during the process of transpiration, water molecules in the plant tissue are removed from aerial parts of the plant, and only a small amount of water absorbed from the soil by the roots is used in process, is utilized in growth and development of the plant, and the rest is eliminated water of excess water is removed from the body, from the organs of plants by this process, by transpiration. And what factors do affect transpiration? For example, cellular factors, the orientation of leaf, the water status of the plant, structural particularities of the leaf, and total number and distribution of stomata in a leaf. As you all know, the stomata is structures which are present on epidermal, between epidermal cells of the leaf, on epidermis of the leaf, and they provide some function. For example, gaseous exchange, transpiration, and etc. And environmental factors which affect the rate of transpiration are light, humidity, temperature, atmospheric pressure, and wind speed. For example, also relative humidity, the amount of water vapor present in the air at a particular time, and temperature is expressed as a percentage of the amount required for saturation at the same temperature. And the rate of transpiration is intensively proportional to relative humidity. And more the relative humidity, less is the transpirate rate. And temperature also affects transpiration. A high temperature, for example, lowers the relative humidity and opens the stomata even in darkness, because stomata are open at daytime and they are closed at nighttime. But the temperature opens the stomata even in darkness. And as a result, the rate of transpiration increases. And light also affect the rate of transpiration, and the stomata open during the day and close in dark. Presence of light is directly proportional to the rate of transpiration. And surface area of the leaves. A leaf having more surface area will show more transpiration rate than the leaf with a lesser surface area, because the leaves which have more surface area of transpiration, they have a lot of, in such types of leaves there are numerous stomata, and they are open at daytime and they transpirate water. And air also, if the air is still, the transpiration rate is low, and if air is moving, the saturated air around the leaves is removed and the transpiration rate increases. And here you can see the process of guttation. What's the process of guttation? Guttation happens at night, when the soil is very moist and the water is absorbed by the roots. And if there is too much water, root pressure causes the water to squeeze out of the plant and onto the tips of the leaves. So guttation and respiration are the important process, losing of water in the form of vapor. For example, and what is the difference between these two processes, between transpiration and guttation? In transpiration it's a loss of water in the form of a large volume of water in the form of vapor through the stomata, through the structures which are present on the leaves, on the epidermal cells. But guttation, it's a loss of water in the form of water droplets through the small pores, through the structures which are called hydatodes, and hydatodes are present at the tip of the leaves or at the tips of the leaf blade. And in this process, in the process of guttation, the plants lose water, water is removed from the plant body through the structures called hydatodes and in the form of drops. But in transpiration, the plant organs lose a large volume of water in the form of vapor, and through the stomata, which are open at daytime and closed at nighttime. And that's all for today. Thank you for attention.